Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
And I'm Joshua.
Today we'll be taking a look at The Mandalorian, the Disney Plus exclusive set within the Star Wars universe. When the show debuted just over a year ago, it won over Star Wars fans and new fans thanks to its engaging lead performance from Game of Thrones and Kingsman 2's Pedro Pascal, the character of the child, aka Baby Yoda, and the groundbreaking visual effects that added to the storytelling. The series is built upon the original films and coming from the creative lead behind previous animated shows like The Clone Wars and Rebels, Dave Filoni, joined by Jon Favreau of Swingers fame. God, that's a bit of a throwback there. And of course, more recently, the live-action Jungle Book and Lion King remakes. And of course, Iron Man. Guest directors included actress Bryce Dallas Howard of Jurassic World, Taika Waititi of Jojo Rabbit, and soon Sin City's and Spy Kids' Robert Rodriguez, with guest stars like Werner Herzog, Giancarlo Esposito, Nick Nolte, Richard Ayoade, Carl Weathers, and Katie Sackhoff. So a bit of a flashback. I mean, This series was set a few years after the original film, so after Luke...
After Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, after the Empire was defeated. The Mandalorian is from a warrior caste, you know. He's now acting as a bounty hunter. He's a foundling as a child. He was a refugee and taken in by these people, and he's travelled across the galaxy bringing bounties dead and alive. And he's sent after a 50-year-old target, which ended up being Baby Yoda. And he's sort of become entrusted in caring for this little being and reuniting it with its people, whether they be little green frogmen or the Jedi Force users that we know and love. It started a few weeks ago. We're currently 3 episodes in. We're going to be talking full spoilers, basically,
full
for
spoiler.
These three episodes. Episode 4 will be on...
tomorrow. Hit the ground running. Pretty much out the bat. Episode 1, fantastic stuff. You know, the Marshal... Mando sent back to Tatooine to hunt down more of his people after visiting a very shady Gamorrean boxing arena, or fighting pit, I should say, with a surprise appearance from John Leguizamo as the one-eyed alien.
Yes, I didn't find that out till later. That was cool. Yeah,
this episode is phenomenal. You've got returning characters. I can't remember the names for the life of me, but the mechanic's back from...
Amy Sedaris.
Amy Sedaris, thank you. Yep. Back as the Tatooine mechanic. And you get to learn more about, you know, Tatooine as a whole. That's apparently this ghost town that disappeared off the map. The Tusken society you get to learn a little bit more about.
Yeah, the Sand People from way back in the original. You get a real expansion into their society, and you see them as much more than just, you know, stick-waving, you know, madmen. They actually have a culture. They have a language which is like based upon American Sign Language.
Yes.
And they get along if necessary. And they're not an overly aggressive people as we've been led to believe. It's just through misunderstanding, I guess, that they've been...
They're very territorial.
Yeah, understandably. I guess it is their land. So many parallels to draw between the Native Americans.
Very much so.
And it's very Old West, this, isn't it?
Very, very Old West. And, of course, the biggest reveal, which we've only seen a skeleton, which I'm hoping is still in that same spot when they filmed A New Hope, a crate dragon.
Yeah.
Better yet, a canyon crate dragon.
Yeah, it's to all intents and purposes a giant sandworm, isn't it?
Sand dragon.
Sand dragon. Well, it is a dragon, but yeah, it's a big creature which, you know, is underneath the ground.
Burrows under the...
Very Dune, very Tremors. And, of course, you know, big guest star Timothy Olyphant.
As the Marshal.
Yeah, from Justified, from Deadwood, recently appearing in Fargo Season 4. Scream 2.
Yeah.
He's been from a lot, and he is playing the character of Cobb Vanth, who is the marshal of the town, and he's wearing...
Mos Espa, I believe it was.
Mos Pelgo.
Mos Pelgo, thank you.
Yeah, Mos Espa was episode 1.
That's right.
Phantom Menace. And he is wearing some very iconic armour.
Very iconic armour, which the savvy fan will realise to be Boba Fett's armour.
The original Mandalorian himself. And... I've got to say, Cobb Vanth is so much cooler than canon Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah. Like, I saw it and went, oh my god, it's him. He's alive. That's not him.
Because Timothy Olyphant is a very tall, slender man. Boba Fett he's quite tall, but he's sort of
you got to deal with, you know, the original actor's height, and then you have to somehow consider, hang on, how tall's Tamira Morrison?
Yeah, so he doesn't quite fit.
No.
Yeah, so he shows up and he's wearing this Mando armor, which Mandalorian himself has shown up to collect, and he's kind of like, well, I want your armor. And like I said, Cobb Vanth just blows Boba Fett out of the water because Boba Fett, he fell in a hole and
Cobb Vanth is just... Oh!
You see him use the
jetpack missile. You see him use the flamethrower, the wrist darts.
Yeah.
Pretty much nearly the full gear that we didn't get to see being used in the original films.
It's interesting because the Mandalorian was, introduced last year, and he was kind of like, he resembled Boba Fett. He did all the same Boba Fett things, but he was just better because he had a character.
Yes.
He had a humanity to him. He would trip over his own feet sometimes. He would... I still remember the moment from episode 2, series 1, where he's chasing after the Jawa sandcrawler.
Yes.
And after climbing all the way up, he gets electrocuted immediately and falls off. And that's, it just added to his coolness factor. But to actually see, Cobb Vanth, and he's obviously had that armor for a while because it's a good 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
It is. And the scene where he barters for it is right out of one of the books.
Oh, yes.
With Boba Fett's armor being in the back. In the corner of a sandcrawler.
That's right, because he is an established character, isn't he? Like, he's already existed in the novels and stuff.
Yes.
So this is, like, extra cool for more recent Star Wars fans to read about this character. It's
well,
almost
Cobb
like an adaptation.
Didn't exist. He's a new character.
Yeah.
But the scene where he barters the Solarium crystals for Boba's armor.
It adds to extra, dimension. Like, it really is like an adaptation of a novel that... Something else.
Well, the Crate Dragon, obviously, which we've only read about.
The Crate Dragon was, this tremendous thing. I really loved... There's a scene where they've set up, their beast of burden, the Tusken Raiders. It's the Bantha.
Yes.
With a bunch of explosives, and they call out to the Crate Dragon, and it comes, and they just pelt towards the camera, running as fast as they can as this giant thing comes, and the aspect ratio, like the black bars just raise up, and the screen gets bigger as this giant Crate Dragon just fills the frame, and you cut to Cobb Vanth and just like, oh my god. It's
a lot bigger than I expected.
And yeah, tremendous fight, and Mandalorian.
Acid spitting.
Oh yeah, no fire. You see people dissolve in acid, and it's like, ooh. And
this is a new level of gore for Star Wars.
Or even the end, when it does get defeated.
It does, inevitably.
And you cut to the Tusken Raiders harvesting the meat.
Collecting the fabled Crate Pearl.
Yeah, which again is something else from the old Star Wars canon they reintroduced. And it was kind of like, wow, that's a lot of meat. That
is a lot of meat. You could feed pretty much most Palga for a very long time on that.
Oh, yeah, it was abattoir-esque, that scene.
Yeah, and then this is probably, the first episode is probably, like you said, the most Western it's ever felt.
Yeah.
It's almost... You could swap out the armor and the blasters, give them cowboy hats,
horses,
buffalo, and bloody revolvers and Smith & Wessons, and boom, you've got yourself a modern day Western. Or even one from the spaghetti Westerns.
Yeah, I just wonder what the Crate Dragon would be equivalent to. That's a bit of a tricky one.
That is a tricky one, yeah.
Just have a massive dragon out in the middle of, Arizona or something.
I mean, stranger shit's happened before, right?
Yeah. That's true. And of course, the episode ends with a bit of a cameo.
From Tamira Morrison himself.
Yes, old Once Were Warriors, and of course, Jango Fett, Boba Fett from the original, because he was a bounty hunter, he was of the Mandalorian creed, and he won a competition, basically, and got cloned and became the basis for the clone army, who were the progenitors to the stormtroopers that everyone knows. And Boba Fett was a clone son of him, he was, unaltered, didn't age. So he must only be about 40.
Yeah,
so.
Roughly, early 40s, mid-40s.
Yeah, wait, okay, so it was 32 years before the original Star Wars that Phantom Menace took place, and it was shortly after that because Count Dooku, played by Christopher Lee in the original, became disillusioned after his apprentice Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson, was killed, and he joined the dark side, basically, and he was tasked, as far as I'm aware, it's still canon to a degree, he was tasked with finding the template for the clone army.
Yes.
So he found Jango Fett, and that was a good 10 years before Attack of the Clones.
So Boba would have been about 8-ish?
9, 10, around that old then. So then the Clone Wars went for 3 years, so you meet Boba Fett, played by the original actor Daniel Logan, from episode 2 through the Clone Wars as, a young bounty hunter. And then it was 19 years, so math.
Yeah.
Boba Fett would have been 35 years old in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
roughly, and this is only then 6 years after the fact. So
he's 41.
He's 41 and he looks very rough.
He does.
He looks burnt.
Well, I mean, you're stuck in a crate dragon for...
Or a sarlacc.
Your sarlacc pit, for 6 years. The body acids, and the sarlacc is meant to digest you over 1,000 years.
Oh, yeah. And you see what happened to the armor, how it's like the paint's all peeling and all that.
The paling, it's dented in places.
Yeah. It really, gets the imagination running about where it
does.
could go.
Not to mention that the crate dragon lives in the old sarlacc pit of the Pit of Carcoon.
That's right, doesn't it? Yeah, this old sarlacc pit where Jabba the Hutt met his demise.
So the question is, did the crate dragon eat the sarlacc?
Oh, it must have done.
Yeah.
I mean, those sarlaccs are like icebergs. You just got the toothy mouth at the top, and then you go below the surface, and it's like a massive, just cavernous beast. I actually thought it might have been a sarlacc when the crate dragon first appeared.
Well, sarlaccs don't move.
Yeah. Oh, they do a little. They do need to sort of wriggle around. They're sort of like crabs in a way. Like they leave their hole, which is like their shell, and they move on to another one that's bigger if they need to.
I always associated them with being actual bacteria that would fall off of people's clothing.
Ooh.
That's where I read that they were, but, Well, back in the old days. The old days don't matter anymore, according to Disney. And Filoni, who directed this episode, came out and... Well, Favreau wrote the story for both Season 1 and 2. It's just everyone else doing their creative flair, pretty much with Boba Fett's reappearance, has pretty much given the middle finger to Disney going, no, Fett's alive.
I think with the Star Wars continuity as well, because you've got 30 plus years of history you can draw from, and they've pulled in like Grand Admiral Thrawn, they've pulled in various other Sith Lords and other characters and stuff, and whole, elements of the plot. They could just sort of do that again, They could reinterpret it, sort of like, adapt pre-existing stories, which they're kind of doing, which is really cool. But anyway, we need to move on to Episode 2.
Episode 2, The Bad Uber Arrived.
Yeah.
Or just simply titled Chapter 12, The Passenger.
Yeah, so the Mandalorian, he returns home to... he returns to Mos Eisley and he meets Amy Sedaris' character, who says, well, I've got a job for you, we'll take you to your next Mandalorian, people you need to find. And it's a frog lady who needs to get to the neighbouring planet with her eggs. Spawn?
Yeah, last spawn. They have to be fertilized before the solstice.
Yes. And he can't just hop there by hyperspace. He needs to travel there through space, regular speeds.
FTL. Yeah.
And things go awry as he tries to get pulled over by a bunch of New Republic. One of which played by Dave Filoni himself.
Yes.
And Mando decides to run rather than actually,
I'm going to stop and, yes, hello, officer. What problem be, yes?
It's very Fargo, actually.
Yeah, very.
Except he just doesn't shoot one of them in the head and take off.
No.
But yeah, he runs because of previous crimes he committed in Series 1, breaking into a Republic, prison
ship.
And he crashes onto an icy planet. And I kind of had hoped that might be a pre-existing planet, like maybe Ilum. Or something. And,
Ilum's now a Starkiller base.
Well, that's still a good 30 years until that happens.
Yeah.
And, it could have been crash landing there. But it turns out it's just an icy moon, and he and Frog Lady and Baby Yoda settle down and try to fix the ship, and Baby Yoda keeps eating this poor woman's eggs, which we should say are in a tank.
Yes, they are in a tank. It's not like he's reaching into this poor frog. No. They're in a tank of water. Yeah. They're floating, kind of, and it just pops open and then...
He keeps eating them, and I kept screaming, no, don't. It is intentionally meant to be this way.
Yeah, it's meant to be, oh, look at Baby Yoda, he's doing the cutesy, such a child thing.
The frog lady, she goes into a cave and finds a hot spring, and she's chilling with the eggs, and Mando shows up and it's like, okay, let's pack you up and get you out of here. Baby Yoda turns around and finds another egg, doesn't he?
With a scene straight out of Aliens.
Yeah, cracks open this egg, and it's not, it's not... The frog lady's eggs look like egg yolks.
They're like tadpole eggs.
They are, yeah. And then he goes and finds, like a friggin' alien egg and cracks it open, and there's an alien spider, and he just chomps into it, and it's like he's covered in just this spider gunk. And then, of course, all the other eggs split open, and all these spiders pour out.
An army of menacing spiders.
Yeah, and, splat left and right, and...
Well, these creatures have been seen before in Rebels.
Yeah, and they were based upon an old bit of concept art by...
Ralph McQuarrie as one of the beasts of Dagobah.
Yeah, I got an old book of that, and I recognised as soon as they came. Even watching Rebels, I was like, oh, it's based upon those, and this was like, oh, this is them in their natural habitat, as was envisaged like 40 years ago.
Pretty much.
And yeah, not one for the arachnophobes, this one.
No.
Oh.
No, it's not. Very claustrophobic towards the end.
Yeah, as they're piling into the cockpit and the spiders are just everywhere, jamming their massive legs into the ship.
Well, the big one is, not the tiny ones. Or the medium-sized ones.
It really felt hopeless, that did.
It did. And then, lo and behold, Filoni Ex Machina, the X-Wing pilots come back and go, well, you did the right thing last season in episode 5, so we're going to let it slide. But next time, we'll cuff you.
Yeah. Just pull over and show us your license next time.
I mean, seriously, how hard is it to follow the rules?
It was, it really did feel hopeless, though.
It did.
In that moment. And this is an episode where it's less... It's more character building.
It is. It is allowing Mando to feel more humanized to us.
Yeah, because just him actually caring for this woman. That in itself is very Western, like, I guess, transporting the pregnant lady across the plains to,
Yeah.
to meet her husband at some far off, outpost. It's... Yeah, it's less of a plot one, and I sort of ended it going, well, that was a rush, but okay, not much happened story-wise.
It still builds, She gives the plot agency because he's now able to find someone who can point him towards more Mandalorians, and it allows him to evolve as a character.
Yeah. And for Baby Yoda to utterly horrify the audience.
Yeah.
Episode 3.
The Heiress.
Yes, so they arrive at their destination, and the frog lady meets her husband, and they go their separate ways.
With a splash.
Yes. Yeah, they accidentally crash land in the bay, and they get fished out by an AT-AT crane.
A converted AT-AT Walker.
Which was really cool to see. Apparently that was actually a concept which was developed for Solo, a Star Wars story. It was like, the dock lands that they had there at the beginning of the film. Where was this? It wasn't Corellia, was it?
No, it's not on Corellia.
Because that's a while away.
That's in the core.
Yeah, Rim.
No, the planet is an aquatic planet, and a lot of people thought it might have been Mon Car.
Yeah, because you've gone and got...
You have the Quarians and the Mon Calamarian.
Last week you had your frog lady. This time you've gone and got fish people and squid people, who are, again, Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. And it's great seeing them, and they're wearing, like, fisherman's clothing. Like, they've got beanies, they've got scarves, they've got cable knit, like, sweaters, Wellington boots, and all that stuff. And it's, just so much aliens. And that's one thing I think The Mandalorian has really done, is that presenting all these alien characters, because all the Star Wars movies, besides Jar Jar Binks, Yoda, and Chewbacca, have not really had alien characters. They've all been human or near human, and to just have a bunch of fish people for a bit, and also Tusken Raiders.
The Moon of Trask.
Right. That means nothing to me.
Means nothing to me too, but what a world.
Yeah.
The frog lady is reunited with her husband, the frog man.
Yep.
And the frog man points him to a Mon Car that will help him find more Mandalorians, and the Mon Car goes, right, well, I can point you to this Quarian.
This squid man, and
they'll help you find the people that you're looking for.
They pile onto a trawler, and Baby Yoda is then knocked into the maw of a giant squid that's in the belly of their ship.
The Quarians aren't after the child, they're after the Beskar.
Yeah, so...
Which is a nice change of pace.
Yeah,
Usually it's the child, get it!
Then 3 other Mandalorians show up, and they blast the hell out of the squid people, the Quarians, and rescue Mando and the child. And they step forward into long-time viewers, I guess, of the Clone Wars and Rebels. The armor might look very familiar.
Very familiar as Lady Bo-Katan.
Played by Katie Sackhoff of Battlestar Galactica fame. And she's actually been voicing this character for a good 10 years now.
Reprising her role.
Yeah, in the live action now.
Yes.
This is really a cool moment for those long-time fans, for fans of, sci-fi in general, to just see her. And also for Mando, it's kind of a moment where he sees them without their helmets, and he's kind of conflicted because that's part of his religion. He can never remove his helmet.
That's part of his creed, yeah.
Yeah.
Then to see one very well-established Mandalorian take off their helmet.
It really hits him for 6, and then he has to be talked around into helping them, as they're saying, well, we can we can help you with this thing if you
We can help you
us.
find the Jedi. You just need to help us steal from the Imperial remnant.
It's quite established, though, this Imperial thing. You know, it's not so much like a ragtag remnant. It's like we saw with Moff Gideon last
It's back
season.
to the warlords.
Yeah, this is really quite...
Which, again, from the old lore, there were a lot of Imperial warlords.
I'd like to think that, yeah, once the war sort of ended, you know, the Emperor was defeated, the Empire didn't go down as one solid unit. It was fractured.
It tried to, like, Palpatine had Operation Cinder, which was one of the orders.
Yes.
He had a lot of orders. Basically, the Empire were to all gather on Jakku, the furthest outpost that they had, and die. That was it.
But then they went off and became the First Order, which we see in Force Awakens.
A bunch of them went off with Admiral Sloane, who became Grand Admiral Sloane, who became Leader Sloane as part of the First Order.
Oh, right.
And the rest sort of dispersed and went, nah, I got me some 8 Star Destroyers and, you know, so many Stormtroopers and TIE Fighters. I think I can control my own sector.
I think it would be quite cool, actually, to see if some basically bowed down to the Republic and became integrated.
Yeah,
because
like it used to.
Yeah, there was a character like Pride, played by Richard E. Grant, in Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker.
I think it would be really cool to see him actually be part of the New Republic, and then once things turned more in favour of the First Order, he declared his true allegiances and turned back to, like... It's kind of like, you know, having the old, you know, Nazi Party members being integrated into various, you know, remnants.
Yeah, Operation Paperclip and all that.
Pretty much, yeah. But yeah, basically, Bo-Katan, they break aboard a ship and, you know, shoot up a bunch of stormtroopers, throw a bunch of stormtroopers off a ship. That Imperial leader was very dedicated to his cause, wasn't he?
Very, and it shows that there are hardliners still alive.
Yeah, and before, you know, a lot of Imperial officers would have, you know, basically cowered and given up.
A lot would have cowered. And it shows, you know, that there is still leaders out there with a backbone, even among the lowers. Because you see admirals like Piet, who kind of just sort of...
I don't want to.
I don't want to, but at the same time, I like having my neck.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Admiral Ozzel, the bumbling fool.
And then this guy basically just kills the pilots and then tries to torpedo this ship right into the ocean and kill all on board, including himself. And then once the Mandos break through, he's, you know, suicide pill in his mouth and just, you know...
Which is a great thing. It doesn't just, you know, it's not like cyanide. It zaps him.
It zapped him to death, yeah. I mean, Star Wars sci-fi electricity.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. And while this is all happening...
Bo-Katan's interrogating this guy looking for something.
A dark saber, which is a black lightsaber wielded by Moff Gideon, which we saw at the end of Series 1.
Which first appeared in...
Clone Wars?
Clone Wars, yes.
And for fans of the series, you know, it ended up in the hands of one of the good guys, another Mandalorian called Sabine Wren. And it's kind of like, okay...
It went from Pre-Vizsla to Darth Maul to Sabine Wren, who found it, to Bo-Katan.
It's a complicated story, yeah.
It is a very complicated story.
So now it's kind of like, well, where are these other characters? But we do get a character name dropped, and that's Ahsoka Tano.
Yes.
Who was, you know, the Jedi learner, the Jedi student of Anakin Skywalker, who of course went on to become Darth Vader. She escaped the Great Jedi Purge, as we talked about a few months ago on the show.
When Season 7 dropped.
Yeah, she's battled Darth Maul multiple times.
She's battled Vader.
She's, you know, walked away from it just, you know, and she's a fan favourite after being sort of divisive when she was first introduced, you know.
Very divisive,
many years ago. And now, you know, name dropping her, it's like, oh my god. And the question...
There's a lot of rumours going around that Sabine Wren, Bo-Katan, and Ahsoka are all going to appear in the season, including Rex, because it was confirmed Tamir Morrison was going to be in Season 2.
Yeah, I mean, Rex is a clone, so yeah, and Sabine Wren, another Mando, but it's since been... People speculated that Sasha Banks, wrestler, will be playing Sabine, but she's playing a new character, another Mandalorian who shows up in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Ahsoka, it's kind of up in the air because, I mean, she's been voiced by the same voice actress for the last 14 years, 12 years, so.
Pretty much.
And people have been pushing really hard for established actress Rosario Dawson was in Sin City, directed by Robert Rodriguez, who's directing an episode this season.
And apparently Disney has come out and confirmed that until I see the body, well...
Yeah, well, there's been quite a few things. Like, I mean, Tatiana Maslany of Orphan Black was confirmed as being cast as She-Hulk in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And she's come out and said, no, that's not true. Unless it's her keeping a lid on it, but then it's kind of like, well, what else is true?
Well, Disney has very strong non-disclosure agreements.
Although, I mean, we knew about Timothy Oliphant and Katie Sackhoff months back if you followed the rumours, and then it was just sort of getting that confirmed when they did show up.
Pretty much. Like, I hoped Bo-Katan would come back because, you know, hey, it's something to help muddle up the plot and make it more interesting. Not that it's not interesting enough.
Yeah.
Now we've got this extra thing of, you know, this Mandalorian faction hunting down Moff Gideon to try and retake Mandalore.
Yeah, which would be really exciting to see for fans, and hopefully it makes sense to, you know, new viewers. I mean, I've got a friend who's a new viewer, and I haven't talked to her about it just yet, but she got on board with Timothy Oliphant. I mean, being a fan of him for a long time, it was a major benefit, but she understood who he was meant to be, who he was dressed as, and who Tamura Morrison was playing at the end. So yeah, it's really good though, this show.
It is.
to wrap this up, because we're pressed for time. Yeah, what are you thinking so far? What do you think
So
of
far,
the future?
I'm enamored still. You know, the one issue I have is the episodes are getting shorter.
Yeah, because the big debut of Series 2 was
54 minutes. The next episode was 42 minutes, and this episode was half an hour and 6 minutes. So
lots happened in it though, and it sort of feels like a lot more happened in episode 3 than it did even episode 1 or 2.
It was very much more condensed and still a stellar episode with Bryce Dallas Howard coming back at the directing helm.
Yeah, I could tell there was a lot of like cutesy Baby Yoda moments, which sort of reminded me, because she did the iconic, you know, she directed the episode last season where it was
Sanctuary.
When it was the gif of Baby Yoda drinking from the mug.
Yeah.
That's her proudest achievement she was talking about with directing. So you can tell there's a lot of cutesy Baby Yoda moments in this, and it's like, oh yes, it's definitely her who directed it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm stoked for tomorrow's episode, and I can't wait to see where the season goes.
Same here. It's definitely something I'm looking forward to each week. But anyway, that's the Geeks Review, talking yet again about Star Wars. It always comes back to Star Wars.
It always comes back to Star Wars somehow. You just can't escape it.
That's true. Anyway, I'm Royce.
And I'm Joshua.
And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.